what's up? It's autumn, and this is just a thought. What's up? Okay, first, let me just say this. It's been a minute. Happy summer. Welcome back from summer vacation. Yes, I did take a summer vacation because it's important and it's necessary. So there's that. We didn't go away. We just took a little break. We spent some time with God, did some amazing things. I want to tell you, God really showed up and showed out. He showed up and he showed out this summer. But that's another story for another day. Today, we are back. And per usual, I'm super excited because what we're going to talk about, I think, is completely relevant for any time, right? And for all of us, whether we are going through or experiencing this right now, or whether we will be later, or whether we have in the past, none of us are going to get out of life not experiencing grief, not experiencing loss. And so I think that this conversation is going to be one that is going to be a blessing either in this season or in the next for yourself or for someone else. And I am like beyond expecting that it's going to change mindsets surrounding this really sensitive topic, this really sensitive topic. So before we get started into that, I want to introduce my guest because she's amazing and I want you to know why she is amazing. You're just going to see in a minute. So this is my girl, Keisha Morris, and she is a powerhouse in leadership, culture, and confidence. She has 25 plus years of experience in growing people and organizations. She currently serves as the Director of Leadership Organizational Development and DEIB, the B meaning belonging. I had to ask her that, at Bay Health Medical Center. She's a certified coach. She's an elder in her church. And she is a doctoral candidate. Yes, because she is that kind of overachiever in the best way. She's out here killing it, killing it. He should mix his strategy with heart and faith to build meaningful relationships. And when she's not shaping leaders, she's serving her community. She's mentoring the future change makers, and she is showing up as an exceptional friend. And when I say showing up, I mean literally showing up, like being present physically in the room, showing up as an exceptional friend. She has taught me that lesson, and
Thank you.
it's one that I will not forget, that sometimes showing up is more than enough. We be looking for all the extras, and sometimes people just want you in the room. So yeah, Keisha, hi.
Hi, Autumn.
Hi, friend.
How are you, friend? Good to see you.
It's
Thanks
good
so
to
much for
see
the
you. It's
thanks so
good
much
to
for the
see you.
opportunity. I'm really looking forward to this.
Look, you out here glowing. I'm feeling
Am
like
I?
my lighting is all wrong. I said, wait a minute now. I'm gonna have to do some post-production editing because she is out here. I mean,
Girl, you know you're
yes,
gorgeous. Don't even play with me. I'm just trying to catch up. Don't do that.
she is looking sun-kissed. And I
Thank you.
love it. I love it. The hair, all of it. Come on. Come
Well,
on.
I haven't been anywhere but to work, but so I'm SON kids, okay? Come on now, let's go. We ready.
Listen, well, it must be that internal, that inside out glow. So there's that. I appreciate you being here today. I appreciate, you and I had a conversation, and you were like, listen, I'm open to being open. And
Yeah.
I want to thank you in advance for your transparency and your vulnerability and your testimony. And I know that it's going to be a blessing to somebody. And so just in advance, I thank you. Thank you for that.
Looking forward
Um,
to it.
so the topic today is grief.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about grief and loss and what that looks like in all of its forms. And you and I have had a lot of conversations
Yeah.
around this over the last couple years.
Yeah.
And so before we get started, I think what is to give context to the conversation is if you would really just kind of share a little bit about your story of how you how grief has entered into your life most recently. Let's start there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, sure. Happy to share. About a little bit over 2 years ago, my husband, Anthony Morris, he passed away relatively suddenly. He had been sick for a little while, but I always kind of called him the bounce back kid. He would get sick, and then we would go to the hospital, go to the doctor, and then he would bounce back. But one fateful day in June, he wasn't feeling well, and after a series of events, he passed away. He actually passed away in the ambulance, leaving out of our development on the way to the hospital. And so, very unexpected, very much, when you talk about life changing, it very much, I woke up that morning as a wife, and I went to sleep that night a widow. And so to be able to, experience that, the way that I did has just changed my whole entire world. He's not the first person who has passed away in my life. My mother passed away when I was 11, and I spent a good part of 15 or 16 years really trying to work through that. There's still parts of that where I still kind of try to work through. My father passed away, maybe like about 12 or 13 years ago, and that was difficult because he was actually murdered. And so that was difficult to be able to do that. But, you know, I was able to come through that. I was kind of able just to kind of move on with life and kind of, proceed, um, with different hiccups here and there.
Yeah.
But when Tony passed away, it was just one of those things that it totally changed my whole entire world. And I would have never thought that it would have. I've always been that strong, woman who's able just to independent, even though married and kind of able to do whatever.
Right.
But this grief experience changed me from the inside out. And so, a lot of times I think we go through different pieces of our lives, and the external may change, but the internal doesn't always change. And so, this grief journey for me over the past 2+ years has been um, has been one of internal and external change. And so, it hasn't been easy. I will tell you, there have been nights and days and moments when I was like, "Yo, is this what we really doing?"
Yeah.
Um, but it's all I can see now the purpose, and I can see
Mm.
now the need, and I can see now the transformation. And I've often told you that I believe that grief is a gift, and I've really been able to live that over the past 2 years. It hasn't been easy. There are times, that I was just like ready to give up and just be like, forget it. We gonna just do something else. But to be able to withstand the processing of it has really just revolutionized my whole entire world. So one that, sometimes we go through processes where we wouldn't have chosen, but
Right.
it's exactly what we need in order for us to get to our next place. So it's really been a blessing on so many different levels, and I really can't. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's been transformational, really.
So this is that you said a lot, and there's so many things I'm like, okay, so we gotta go back,
Yeah.
go forward, because what I think is really important for people to know and understand is just like you said, this was a little over 2 years ago. So you are at a very different point in your grieving process than some others may be. And so if it the idea of somebody saying that grief is a blessing, right? That this
Mhm.
is a some people are in a place that they're like, they can't even imagine
Yeah.
themselves
Uh,
being able to say that, right? But that's been a
mhm.
process. So, understanding that. So, kind of going back first for a minute before we get to this part, because that's ultimately the place that everybody wants to get to, and understanding how you got there, I think will be really helpful for people.
Yeah.
Stepping back for a second is this for you. What is grief? Like, what,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? What is that for you?
So grief is really everyone goes through grief, number one. Like everyone, whether you know it or not, you go through the grief state or phase or whatever you want to call it. Grief happens whenever you lose anything of significance for you. So we are most accustomed to understanding grief by I lost a loved one, or I lost a parent or whatever. But grief happens when if you lose a job, or if a relationship ends, or shoot, I even say if you lose your favorite pen, there's this
Right.
point where you're like, And you like, "Oh, that's my
Gotta
favorite
let it go.
pen." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, "That's my favorite pen." So you go through this process of really, longing for what once was and now
Yeah.
no longer is,
Yeah.
right? And so really being able to, first of all, acknowledge that. And I will tell you, I mean, it's really ridiculous to be honest with you, but I didn't know I was for real grieving until the beginning of this year, which is 2025. And I'll tell
Yeah.
you, my late husband passed away in 2023. Um, and you kind of go through. I'll be 100% honest. Like in my mind, grief was gonna be like a year.
Okay.
Okay,
She had a
I was
time
gonna
limit.
go. 'Cause we all on a time limit. I don't have time to kind of, perpetuate what's happening. I need to
Right.
get through, experience it, get through it, move forward.
Uh-huh.
So, and you know this because we were, we were in LDI together and all the things.
Mhm.
And that first year, every month I would count down because in my mind I was like, I got 12 to 14 months to get through this. And
Yeah.
then after that, we'll be good. So every month I would count down. Even when I got to the year mark, I was like, whew, we made it a year.
Done.
You and I would be on the phone talking about all the things and we were going to experience over the year and how this was all going to be a thing. And I remember getting to that 1 year mark and being like, whew, I made it. Now I can really begin to live again and I can get past this grief.
Yeah.
Little did I know, even though I thought I was like good, I thought I was good. I was doing all the things, working, thought I was living a normal life.
Right.
Little did I know that I was grieving and I
Uh,
still was grieving. And I was actually um, grieving at a level where I didn't even know existed, to be honest with you,
mhm.
right? Because, like, again, you put a time frame on it, like, okay, well, people say, even when someone's grieving, okay, like it's been 6 weeks, like, why are you still upset? Like, why
Right.
you got to move on? And as a society, we don't allow people to take whatever time they need in
In it
order
for a
to really
minute.
process and be able
Right.
to sit in it. That's one of the things, because quite honestly, don't nobody want to sit in pain. Let's be real,
Facts.
okay?
But
And then
sometimes
you have
it's
to
necessary.
it's very necessary. And
Mhm.
really just even facing the fact that what was once is no longer.
Yeah.
And the life you thought you would have is no longer in existence for
Right.
you, right? You really have to process all of that. It wasn't until I happened to be watching Anderson Cooper, and you probably wonder, why are you watching Anderson Cooper? I just was
On the
flipping through the
news.
channels, watching the news. And he was talking about grief. And I was like, oh, this sounds interesting because I didn't realize his mother had passed and he had did this
Oh,
whole series on grieving because he was trying to process grief for himself. So I was like, yeah, let me watch this. This is really good. And so I was listening to the people's story and I was just like listening to the characteristics or symptoms they were going through. Then
mhm.
I said, huh, that sounds really familiar. Then I watched another episode and I said, "Oh,
Oh, that's
that's where
me.
I'm at."
Yeah, that's
Then
me.
that's me 100%. And I was just like, "Yo, I'm grieving."
Yeah.
But grieving and functioning, just because you're grieving doesn't mean you don't
Mm.
function. There's a part of
That's
it where
good.
you don't
Right.
function, but
Right.
there's a part where you still got to function. And so you still just kind of keep going and you keep kind of doing all the things. And you doing all the things or me doing all the things, I equated to I'm just moving forward. I'm just trying to get on with trying to go forward with my life. And in fact, I was, for lack of a better term, masking what was actually happening.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
what I ended up realizing was after I realized, girl, you grieving, like you really need to go get some help. I called, my sister, and I was just kind of like, hey, if you have a therapist that you could recommend, I mean, please, I need some help. And it wasn't until I actually like faced that fact that I was grieving and I needed someone outside of myself to help me
That's
process
true. Mhm.
not only Tony's passing, but my mother's passing
Right.
and all the other things that kind of have evolved from that.
Right. Right.
Um, my late husband he was a grief counselor as well as he was a chaplain for palliative care. So
Mm.
he used to talk, he used to live and breathe the stuff, right? And
Right.
so
Right.
he told me one time, because he was working with a client, and he was like, yeah, she has complicated grief. And I was like, complicated grief, what is that? And so he was like, basically that's grief that basically builds on each other. So
Yes.
when you don't deal with the grief at the level that it happened, you'll
Right, right.
continue to compound it until you actually deal with the grief.
Yeah.
Because what I've learned, and even if you would go back and look at these Anderson Cooper's plug, no, I'm not getting sponsored for this at all. If
But
you
Imma
would
go
go
back
back
and
and listen,
look.
right? If you would go back and listen to those Anderson Cooper's episodes, they tell you that, and I believe this, that grief is something that you have to walk with, right?
Yes,
Like it
yes.
just doesn't leave. Like you have
Ever.
to walk with grief,
Mhm.
and then that you allow grief to do the what it's going to do, and that's the transformative piece that if you don't lean into it, I
Yeah,
believe, and this is just my, personal experience and belief, grief can either transform you or destroy you. You really have a choice to decide what it's going to do, because quite honestly, it's not going away.
right,
Once you
right,
experience the loss is the loss. And
right.
now what you're walking through and walking with is grief, for grief to be able to do what it's going to do for your life.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's good. That's really good. Grief is, to your point, like, it's such a complicated thing,
Very.
and one that you can't even really guard against or like really prepare yourself. It literally is going to be one of those things you just got to surrender to. And I say
You
surrender,
do.
not like
No,
surrender
it's
as in,
true.
but you know what I mean. But
It's
allow it
very
to,
true.
yeah, to allow it to come as it will, and to give yourself grace and space to be able to go through it as you need to without any expectations. Listen, I knew, I know you had the year. This is going to lead me into the first this second question here. I was gonna say the second question here, because yes, it was I had the privilege and the honor, quite honestly, to be able to walk through this process with you. And I
Uh,
say that because it's truly a vulnerable space, and
it
it's not
is.
one that everyone gets to be or should be a part of. And so being able to partner with someone in that space is something that, I do not take lightly. And I hope that no one does, right? Like if someone is allowing you to walk with that through, that like really truly understand what that means. But it always you was throwing me for a loop, because now, like, to be honest, like, to be transparent, we are two very different expressive type two different types of expressive people, right? I'm very
Facts.
I'm very like, hey, and all the things are outside, right? And you are very, kind of stoic, and all the things are
Yes,
inside.
that's just me. Yes.
And which is ain't nothing wrong with that. So for me, grief is, very transparent. And so you were grieving in a way that was very foreign to me. And I really had to, like, respect and take my cues from
It
you.
was hard for you, girl. Tell the truth.
It was very hard. I'm not listen, very hard. Um it was very hard, but I also had to respect the boundaries that you put around your grief. And so, I think, which was difficult.
Why was it
And
difficult for you?
it was difficult, and it was hard to understand because it was hard to understand. And so it was like there were I mean, you felt almost superhuman, right? Like
Oh,
it was
for real?
like,
Okay.
yeah, you felt almost superhuman. I was like, man, this girl, like, how is she walking through this and doing all the things? And but again, it was like everybody's grief looks different,
Yeah.
and being able to respect that.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny you say that, but inside, girl, I was toe up, right? And that just lets me know, quite honestly, the goodness of God. Because, and I'll go into this part now of the story. Like when Tony passed, I was afforded the opportunity to really not work for like almost a month, a little bit over a month. And I
Mhm.
had just started a new job, and my boss was like, cause you take the time that you need. And first of all, that doesn't happen, right? When you start a new
Right,
job, they're like, you got 90 days, hon. You in your
right.
90-day probationary period. I don't know what you're gonna do, but you need to figure that out. And that was a gift from God because I spent the first 4 weeks literally on the floor of my closet, which
Mhm.
became my prayer closet. And
Right.
I'm gonna be honest with y'all, like I wasn't in there praying. I was in
Yeah.
there crying. I was in there silent. I was in there confused. I was in there trying to journal. I was in
Yeah.
there mad as hell. I was in there.
Yeah.
I would even sleep in there because
Yeah.
quite honestly, that was the only place that didn't remind me of my husband. Like it
Mm.
was the only safe place that I had.
Yeah.
And I met the Lord in that closet. And
Yes.
I had look, like I gave my life to Christ back in 2003. And
Yeah.
and I thought I knew the Lord. I thought I knew him. I had been through other
You
things
learned
in my life.
you met a whole new
I'm
Jesus.
at a whole other side of the Lord. You hear me? And it was beautiful. And
Yeah.
quite honestly, what you saw was him because we would have conversations and he was very clear with me about where I stood. And
Yeah.
I never forget one time I was just in there and just silent. And the Lord brought me to the scripture. I don't know if chapter and verse, I'm sure you can Google it. It talked about him being a strong tower. The
Mm.
righteous run in and are safe.
Yeah.
And I really like spent time just thinking about that. And what, the Holy Spirit shared with me was I'm your strong tower. Like, all you got to do is run into me and I'm going to
Yeah.
protect you and I'm going to shield you.
I'll take
And
a
that's
wreck.
exactly what he did. And still to this day,
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where, you know, he was very clear to me about I'm here to protect you. I know you don't feel like you have anybody else here because Tony was my protector. Like, look, I could mouth off and my husband was like, what's up? You know what I mean? Like in the way that he do. And don't get it twisted. Everybody loved Tony. He was absolutely beloved by everybody,
Yeah.
but there were certain things he didn't play about, and I was one of them. And somebody, did or said something, and he was ready not to fight,
As
but he
he
just let
should
you know.
listen,
He
as
just
it
let you
should
know,
be.
like, can I? How can I help facilitate what you need? Because what you're not gonna continue to do is talk to my wife. You know what I mean? Type of thing, which I'm here for. I'm here
Right.
for that.
Right.
So now, my protector is no longer here. And the Lord made it very clear to me that I'm your protector. And
It's
that's
always
exactly what he
been.
did.
Right.
So, what you saw was for real. You saw the Lord because,
Yeah.
and I'm not, I understand that everybody on your podcast may not have a relationship with the Lord or whatever it may be, but I experienced the Lord in ways that I only read about,
Yeah.
right? But it's like when you're able to actually experience him in that way, it's a whole nother thing. So you saw him even though
Yeah.
I was a shell of a person and I was really just trying to survive. And I bless God for you because quite honestly, like, you know, you helped me to laugh during that period, which was something that I needed. I needed someone to be like just on the phone talking about nothing. You know what I mean?
Like,
And
just crazy.
just crazy, just where we going, what we doing, type of thing. Cause that was something that I really needed at that
Yeah.
time. Otherwise I would have been in the house, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, um, God allowed me to have certain people in my life and it wasn't a lot.
Yeah.
It's a very select few, people who, you know, he allowed me that opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I'm grateful because every single one of y'all who, um, had that level of space in my life has just helped me tremendously. And it's like the part that I'm who I am today is the result of all the things that, you all poured in during that time when quite honestly I was like empty and leaking. So
Yeah.
it's just one of those things, it's one of those pieces now I can look back on it and be grateful. But in the moment, it's just kind of like, when is this pain gonna end?
Oh
And
my
so,
gosh.
you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
what I've come to understand and realize is that pain isn't always bad. If you allow the pain to help you grow and develop, it can be a beautiful thing. And that to me is what grief is. That's why I say it's a gift. Like it's painful. Like ain't nobody signing up to grieve. Ain't nobody doing that. You know what
No,
I'm saying?
at all. At
At
all.
all. At all. But you
Are
use
we
the
all
word
gonna go through it?
surrender. You're all gonna go through it. And you
Yeah.
used the word surrender earlier. And that's what I had to do. I had to surrender to the process of it. And that required, me to let go of who I thought I was, expectations I have for my
That's
life.
grieving.
um, and just allow for this next chapter. Because what sometimes we don't realize is that when you suffer a loss, that literally closes the chapter of that thing. It does. It literally closes the chapter. Now you can continue to go back into the pages of it, but the fact of the matter is that there will be no more written from that story.
No more.
No more
Yeah.
written from that story. And so it's the responsibility when that happens to then make a decision about what you're gonna do.
That's good.
The Lord told me very clearly when I never forget, I was walking in between buildings at work and lamenting in my mind, because I did a lot of lamenting in my mind. Um and the Lord, he well, actually, I was walking and somebody said something about something. I don't even remember. But what came out of my mouth was, and the person was talking about change, right? And what came out of my mouth, I said, well, we either got to adjust or get stuck. And right then, the Holy Spirit was like, exactly. You either got to adjust or you're going to be stuck.
Be stuck here.
Your decision.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
made a choice. I decided that I was going to adjust. And not everybody understood the adjustment. Not everybody continues to understand the adjustment.
Yeah.
We talked about the circle. My circle was very small. People who expected to be in my circle were not in my circle. And that was a whole thing. We walked
Expectations.
through that. It's a whole thing, right? Eh, I mean, you're laughing, but girl, at the time I was about to like lose it.
She was a thug, a whole
I really,
entire thug.
look,
But listen, I wasn't mad at it because you know what? Again, the boundaries, right? And this
and I
is
needed to
something
set that. Yeah.
right. What
Because
you needed for you.
what I realized was people meant well. I'm not going to say that they didn't. I know they meant well. Their hearts were to console, their hearts were to comfort, their hearts were to lift the burden. But not everybody's equipped to lift the burden with you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And like, you can have good intentions, but if you not
You're not
fitted for
called to
that
this.
role,
You're not called to this.
you're gonna mess people up.
All the
And
way.
and
And there was some people
Tony,
trying to mess it up. And I was like,
girl,
please
like
sit down. Please leave this girl alone.
if you know what's good for you,
Just leave this girl alone. Oh my God. Oh
please
my
have several
God.
seats. It's fine. Have several seats. It's fine. Right?
Oh my
Because
God.
I know why they did it. Like, Tony was, again, he was very beloved and he did so much for so many people
Yeah.
that I felt like they wanted to repay him by helping me.
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
honorable. That's
Right.
honorable.
That's
I
honorable.
honor them for that. But I'm not Tony. Like, you should
Yeah.
have, like, for real, you should have honored him when you had an opportunity. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I know that's harsh and people may be like, but they was just trying out. They were.
Yeah.
But I'm Keisha, right? And that was Tony.
Right.
And that was another thing, when Tony passed away, they had always known Keisha, Tony's wife.
Right.
And then
Now
they
you're
met
your own
Keisha.
thing. Yeah. Your own
Then they had a
person.
chance to experience Keisha, and it wasn't, they had some trouble with the adjustment. And so, bless God. And so,
Blessed assurance.
that's okay. You know what I mean? I knew
Right.
that was going to happen because one thing, when I was married to Tony, I tried my best to honor him. And what I
Yeah.
mean by that is, like, he was very outgoing. And trust me when I tell you, it used to pain my backside when, like, we would have to be so social. I was like, bruh, can I please go home? You know what I mean? And he was just out here, just, being everything to
I'm tapped
everybody. And I
out.
was
Tapped out.
I'm tapped out. So, like, but being his wife, and I understood that I was a representative of him, you know, I did what I was supposed to do. But it's a new day.
It's a new day. It's a new day.
It's a new
Um,
day.
that's good what you talked about because I people in times of trouble, right? Whether that's grief, whether that's a loss of what just troubles that come in life, immediately people want to blame God or be like, God's
Mhm.
not here, or how could he allow this? But life is life, and life is lifing. It's going to happen. I mean, that is the cross that we all bear. We are
Mhm.
all born into these human bodies experiencing humanity, and all of the things that that looks like. And the choice really come like God is always there. The choice really is us surrendering and giving him permission. Are we going
Mhm.
to give him permission to do with the loss, with the grief, with the disappointment, with the hurt, with the betrayal, whatever it is that we're experiencing? Are we going to allow him to do what he wants to do with it? Or are we
Correct.
going to get stuck and blame him for why we had to experience it in the first place? That
So here's the thing. This is what I've learned. Number one, he's not afraid of you blaming him, right?
correct.
It's an open door for him
Correct.
to say, okay, all right, let's talk about it.
Mhm.
And all right, you want to talk about it, let's talk. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
so it's an opportunity, like I always tell people, to get real with God. Like, why not? He already understands what's happening with you, so you might as well be honest, right?
Right.
Because quite honestly, you can't experience the fullness of who he is and what he has for you until you're honest. And I
Absolutely.
know that to be a fact because I remember one day, like, I was journaling, praying, one of those, and he was very clear with me. He was just like, you've been mad at me for a long time. And I'm like, excuse me? What you
Who?
mean?
Not you looking around the room.
Yeah,
Who?
like,
Who,
who?
Jesus?
Me?
Who?
You talking about
Been mad.
well, baby, what you mean? And he proceeded to tell me, like, you were mad but that your mom passed away. You were mad about, all these other things. You've been mad since you were 11.
Yeah.
And trust, like, go, say, love the Lord,
All that.
go to
All that.
things, all the things. And
Mhm.
I'm like, and I really had to admit, yeah, you're right. I've had to experience loss that no one else has had to experience. I've had to live a life and grow up in ways that I don't think anybody, no one really around me has been able to experience. Like, it's been
Right.
hard, it's been hard. And then we proceeded to have a real conversation about it.
Right.
And I was like, I'm sorry. And he's like, it's all good. I just need for you to know
Yeah.
so we can move forward.
Right.
And that's
So
the
we
type of
don't stay
loving
stuck.
guy. That's it. So okay, now that we understand what's happening here, let's figure out how we move forward.
We can't
So,
address what we don't acknowledge.
yeah, exactly. And so being able to do all of that within the grief process is important because let's just be honest, you're gonna be mad. You're gonna be upset. You're
Right.
gonna blame God. You're
Right.
gonna be like, how could you? And don't think that that you didn't did all these good works, so he owe you. Cause I did that. I ain't gonna lie. I done served.
I'm a good person.
I'm a good person.
Why not let somebody who's ugly and mean and hateful, why not this happen to
I've
them?
tried to, I don't break too many traffic laws, all the things, but it's just like, no, like
Life
this
happens
is
to us all.
this is the process. And so
Yeah.
again, surrendering and embracing the process of it is what is transformative because, you know, we don't we think we know. I thought I know who I was, but over the past 2+ years, I have discovered there is a
Introduced new
whole nother
person.
person. There's
Yeah.
a whole nother layer. I shouldn't say a
Yeah.
whole nother person, a whole nother layer to this person that I wasn't even aware of. And it's been a gift to be able to find her. And so,
It's a gift.
yeah,
That
it
is a
really is.
gift, and I think when we get to a place where we can really start to embrace that and not be fearful of it, but look
Mhm.
at it as something to be excited about. Like, I
Yeah.
continuously get to be curious and discover more about myself. There's things about me that I have yet to discover. This is not old hat. Like,
Yeah.
it just every day continues to be something new, and being open to allowing God to do that for you and to use these experiences to show and reveal more about him and more about
Yeah.
you is always like, how you getting bored? This walk is not boring at
It's
all.
not. It's
Not at
not.
all.
Not at all.
Keep your eyes open.
You,
So
you
papers peep. So there's that. But I, one question I really want to ask you is because you talked about being transformed by grief in the best way and learning things about yourself. What has it taught you about the love that you have for other people? Right? Like what love really means, right? I think we have different when things are great or when we're in it, you know what I mean? But I think when we kind of retro or look back, you'd be like, you
Yeah.
know what? This is what that love was really about, or this is what that love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great question. I when I think about it, I have to think back to like Tony, right? Like I didn't realize because I think a lot of times we have our own perception about love based on, TV, what we expect, what we see. But, over the past 2 years, I've had a chance to really reflect and understand that love is about being there and
Mm,
about supporting and
mm,
about showing up, right? Which is why showing up is so important for me because just being present, like you said earlier, I don't have to say anything, but to know that you took the time enough to come out and to, just be like, hey, I'm just here really quick, want to let
yeah,
you know that I'm, supporting you. That was huge for me. And, even to the point of honoring,
yeah,
when you honor somebody, you love them and being able to love them unconditionally, even with all their faults. Cause, you know, we,
mm,
we think that we're so perfect. And it's like when you have a chance to really, when I had a chance to really take a look at how I was and how I acted in certain situations, and Tony still loved me and he
yeah,
still, provided and he still, regardless, that's love, And so being able to now even honor him by not loving like he loved because he was on a whole different level, but at least being aware now and being willing to open myself up to people like that. And
mm,
even if it's just a matter of learning to love you unconditionally, right? No expectations, no, I'm looking for whatever. And just being able to see the good in you and to be able to help you embrace that as best as you can. You know what I mean? And even be able to sit with people when they showed you their most ugliest side and still be like, you not being really nice right now, but I still love you. You're still an incredible person. You know what I mean? Type of thing. So
yeah,
it's stuff like that. I just think I have a whole different appreciation for love. Um, and just loving others. I'm not gonna tell you that I'm perfect. I mean, trust me, there are people I'll be like, for real. But at least, even though that's the case, I will do, okay, help me to see them how you see them. And that wasn't something that I would do because everybody has a place in their life where it needs to be filled, right?
yeah,
And so, and uh, don't hear what I'm not saying. I know there's a God place that nobody can fill,
absolutely.
but there's also a place where you have something to give them to help, and even in a moment.
Right.
And so,
Right.
being able to be open to that, I think is really, really important. Um, so, grief has really, I think it's softened me a little bit too, just to be honest with you. Um, I am uh I'm not gonna say I'm a punk or nothing, but I was just yeah. It it has really just kind of given me a little bit more empathy for people and
Mm,
compassion, right?
yeah.
I think compassion is probably the biggest lesson that I've learned. And I think what's important to remember too is that compassion and empathy doesn't always look like, oh, come here, let me hug
Right.
you.
Right. Right.
It's however you express compassion, however you express empathy, but it's all about being able to keep that person in the forefront of your mind
Yeah.
and saying, hey, what is it that I can give you in this moment to help you?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's nothing that you can say. It's again just, hey, call me if you need to talk.
Yep.
I don't have any answers for you, but I'm happy to be a sounding board. I'm happy for you to come over here and we just sit down and talk and I'll just listen the whole time. But it's also about allowing that person, um and I'm going to go back to this grief piece, because I'll say it like this. Sometimes people grieve and in other people's desire to help, they give you what they think you need or what um they want to give you,
Right.
right? And one thing, and you and I had many conversations on this, is that um when someone is grieving, they'll tell you what they need.
Right.
And sometimes what they need is for you not to be in their space. And sometimes what they need is and I don't mean that like go somewhere, I'm gonna push you out. But like some people just need to be by themselves, and that's
Right.
okay.
Right.
They'll tell you when, they'll welcome you into their space when you're ready.
Right.
And it's important to honor that. Like, yes, I get that you will be upset. I get that you will be hurt.
But
But
it's
if
not
you
about
can
you.
just not make that moment about you, I promise you it'll pay off
For
for you.
just
I
the
promise
moment.
you.
Right. For
That
just the
moment is
moment.
not about you. It's not. And look, and I'm gonna be honest with you, like I have been guilty of that myself, even after I suffered, a
Yeah.
loss. Like, because again, you want to help, you want to kind of
Yeah.
be, but you have to let the other person tell you what they need.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
really
just honor
hard.
that.
That's
It's
really
hard.
hard. We wanna project. We think, "Well, this is what I want." First of all, you don't know because 'cause you're not in the space and you're not
That part.
experiencing it. So you don't
Right.
know what you would want. But this is what you imagine that you
Mhm.
want, or
Right.
something that you saw on a movie, or something that you saw, you know what I mean? Like, and so you're trying to project that onto somebody and not knowing, um, if that's accurate or not. Um, which I think leads into something else that you kind of mentioned, that sometimes it's just not saying anything at all, right? And a lot of people feel this incessant need to be super deep, to be super, philosophical, to be super spiritual, to be super whatever. And sometimes you don't need to say anything at all, like none of it. Like having those conversations where they're trying to say something and you being like, do you just receive? And I feel like I know what you're gonna say. Do you just receive it, or do you have a conversation with them to be like, this, please, please stop.
Honestly, it all depended on where I was.
Okay.
Like, and sometimes like you can be gracious, right?
Yeah.
And I find myself still being gracious when, people express their condolences and grief and stuff like that. And I do that now, number one, because I'm in a better place. And so
Mm,
now I understand you need that. So I'm going to give you that. Right.
mm.
But when it first happens, honestly, I was selfish. Right. And so I needed to not have to console someone in this moment,
Right.
and I could
Right.
have. And, some people will say you should have.
But I think that's a level of
Should
advocacy.
have.
I think it's a
Yeah.
level of self-advocacy, right? We are very culturally trained to always be putting other people first and feeling like that is, regardless of what the situation or circumstances are. And sometimes it's just not your turn,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Exactly. Sometimes it just isn't your turn.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And I think that, if you happen to be grieving, just deciding what it is that you need, it's okay for you to do that. It's okay for you to decide this isn't what I need at this moment. And so being able to, like you said, advocate for yourself. And not everybody's going to like it. People are still upset with me, but it's kind of just like,
It's gonna be okay.
I, you know,
In
I'm
Jesus' name.
sorry. No, I really am sorry,
Yeah.
but in the moment, I really didn't have the capacity to be what you wanted me to be. And being able to give people the freedom to be able to say that, especially if they suffer that type of loss, is important. It's
Yeah.
very, very important.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that that's an unrealistic expectation to put on someone to show up in any specific way. Because again, it's like you're under assault. You are
It can
things are
feel that
coming
way.
at you, right? Things are coming at you from so many different ways that you can't anticipate. You didn't see coming. You don't are not prepared for. And so now it's like I'm just trying to battle through, you know what I mean, all this, and you want me to tap dance at a certain tune. It's like, what do you want from me? This is a lot to really
I'm
take
telling you,
in.
girl. Like, that's 100% accurate. And for
Yeah.
me, like, I remember, because people, again, they just want to help. And they used to always ask me, like, how are you doing? And I remember having this conversation with God, like, what am I supposed to say to these people? Like,
Yeah.
what you mean? Like, do you have 2 hours to sit down with me and tell, if I
Right.
could tell you?
Right.
I can't even do that because I have not processed what's happening.
Right.
And the Lord said to me, just tell them that you're well. And so anytime someone said something to me, I was like, how you doing, Keisha? I'm well. And he was like, even if you don't believe it, you'll get there. And so,
Mhm.
they have that saying, what is it? Like, fake it until you make it or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And not that I was faking it, but I was really just,
Speaking
I
it,
was looking
speaking it
to
into
speak it in
existence.
existence. I was looking to manifest it. I was looking to even have myself believe it, that I'm well.
Yeah.
And that's what I still, to this day, people say, how you doing? I was like, I'm well, because
Yeah.
it's a process, right? It's a journey. I mean, I don't, I don't know how grief will turn up for me, in a month, tomorrow. I just know that it's something that I've come to embrace and not shun. And if I have a moment where I get teary eyed, that I allow myself that moment, and then I move on from that moment. And that's okay to be able to do that, but you have to give yourself the space to be able to do that.
That's fair. And other people have to give you the space to be able to do it, right? If they want to be in relationship. If they want to be in a relationship, we got to give each other space to be able to feel all the things. So I
100%.
wanted to one of the things I was talking about, people can be super spiritual, super deep. And I know you're gonna say the one thing, maybe you'll say it or maybe you won't, the thing that was getting on your nerves that people were saying. But um so
You'll have to remind me because there were quite a few things. So
that's fair, but so I will remind you. But um a friend of mine sh- murdered, tragically killed suddenly. And the day that it happened, right? So, and we're like, feel like having an outer body experience and just all the things. And I remember in that moment, the hugest thing for me, right? Because it's also really interesting the things that your mind focuses on
Mhm.
at different points. But for me was the idea that he died in fear. He was such a good person, just kind, generous, loving, always joyful, love God, all the things. And I just could not get past that his last moments on this earth were experienced in fear. And that was so upsetting to me.
Yeah.
And somebody in that moment called themselves being helpful, said to me, uh, you believe in God, right? Okay. Also, this is one thing that I not recommend. Don't try to give me a spiritual pop quiz in the middle of grief, please.
Not a
Please
pop
and thank you.
quiz.
A spiritual pop quiz. Do you believe in Jesus? This is not the time. Don't do that. But okay. So you believe in God, right? Yes, I do. Well, if you do, you believe that God was in the fire with Meshach, Shadrach,
Shadrach and Abednego.
and
Yeah.
Abednego? And I said, I do? Like, I'm like, where we going with this? He's like, then
I'm
you have
going.
to believe. Then you have to believe that he was with him also. And listen, I get it. I get the biblical, the spiritual lesson. Also, stop talking to me.
Correct.
Um, that just
Not
it
right
was
now.
that
Yeah.
was just not right now. Right now, just let me cry or whatever the case is. And so again, I get it, maybe a lesson or a thought to give me a month from now, 2 months from now, 6 months from now, not the day of. That's
Yeah.
not the moment. Um,
Yeah. I
so
think people just don't, like, they don't know what to say. What I've realized is that, and it happens to me too, you just don't know what to say,
yeah,
right? You want to make it better, but the reality of it is that you can't make it better.
right. Nothing you say is going to make this moment
It's
any
not going
better.
to make any better. It's not. So you
Nothing.
might as well sit in the pain with me. I would rather you sit in the pain with me than try to make it better, right? And it's because we want people that we love to feel better. I mean, it happens. I do it too, but it's just kind of, and I always appreciate my friends that are just like, stop, just stop. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's
As
it's
long
it's,
as they didn't
it's
say, I'm praying for you.
oh my God, like that was. So let me explain this because you didn't have to do that. Ooh, okay. So let me just say this. I think it's important that we pray for others, right? We're actually commanded to do so. At the time, and it's my own personal belief. I still believe this to this day for me personally, and it's just my own personal conviction.
Mhm.
Um, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. It's my own personal conviction where I believe that when the Lord puts someone on your heart to pray for, it's a privilege, right? It's a privilege because
Mhm.
he trusts you with that person to
Yeah.
come before him on behalf of that person. I consider it a privilege. So for me, it's almost like your best friend telling you, I got something to tell you, and I need for you just to keep this between you and I, right? Because I see something and this person can't take care of it for themselves, but I know you can. So can you just go do this? It's like someone entrusting you with something precious, right? Because I
Right.
believe that we're all precious.
Right.
And if God puts you on my heart, Autumn, to pray, then he's equipped me to do that for you.
Right.
Period.
Right.
Otherwise he
Right.
wouldn't have told me.
Right.
So I believe my own personal conviction, don't at me, but it's my own personal conviction that that's 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 something that God has entrusted to me, and that's
Mhm.
between me and him.
Right.
If I tell if I tell you I'm praying for you, what do you want me to do with that? I'm gonna say thank you. I'm
Thank
gonna say
you.
thank you. So let me just I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm gonna be gracious. I'm gonna say thank you. I appreciate it. But in my mind, I'm like, I can't pay you back for that. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
What do you want me to
why are you
do?
telling me? Like,
Yeah.
what
What do you
is
want me
your
to do?
intent to tell me?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and you look, I'm happy for somebody to sit me down and kind of give me the rundown of this. I'm happy to learn, but I just really feel like that's something that's between you and the Lord. And
Right.
so,
She
can
said, "Why? Why, Lord?"
what do you want? What are you expecting me to do with that? Like, I just want to.
Right.
I want to know what do you want me to do
Right.
besides tell you thank you? You know what I mean? Am am I going? What am I going to do with that? I appreciate it. I do. Please.
Well,
You
run
probably
that
want to pray.
prayer back.
You probably want to
What
pray
was
for
you
me
praying?
right now. Which feel free to do that. this girl, she don't know what she's talking
Listen,
about.
tell me what the prayer was then. What was you praying?
But it's just kind of like, again, like the only person that can reward you for that is the Lord. You
Absolutely.
know,
Yeah.
And trust me, like people have prayed for me, didn't say anything, and I've said to them, thank you for praying for me," because
Yeah.
the Lord told me, like,
Yeah,
they've
I
been
know you were
praying.
praying.
I appreciate, and I really do with my whole
Yeah.
heart. But for you to tell me, and I'm a lot better with this now, y'all, than I was two
Listen,
years
I
ago.
need you to take that bass out your voice because you said for you to tell me.
I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm trying. I thought I was doing better, y'all. I thought I was doing better. But I just really feel like, okay, I appreciate it again, but the only person that can repay you for that is the Lord. And I pray that he does, that he multiplies it back unto you. But I don't have anything else
She
for
said, just
you. You know
she
what I
said,
mean?
leave me out of it.
Not I know it sounds awful, but it was just my own personal conviction. So
I love it. I love it. No, it's what? It really
you
made me
didn't love
think
it at the
that
time though. You was getting
I
on me
didn't.
about
I
it.
did. I
I
was
feel
like,
bad.
wait a minute now, wait a minute. But no, and I understood where you were coming from, right? I also understood where other people were coming from, and I think it was more, at least for me, when we were having the discussions about it, it's more about motive, right? Because I think that people do things because they want to be seen. Again, they want to be the center of attention. Like, what? Yeah, what are you doing this for? And
That's
then there
exactly right.
are times when people are telling you that as a means of comfort, right? Like they truly love you and care about you, and they want you to
Sure.
know, like um, I'm carrying. This is their way of saying I'm carrying this burden with you, right? Like I,
And I'm appreciative. I
yeah,
really am. People have done that to me, like,
yeah,
and I legitimately was like, because it's something I wouldn't have expected, right? So I'm like, I really do appreciate that, which I do. I really
yeah,
do. And I think to your point, Autumn, it was like I was able to detect motive in some
yeah.
of that, and so I was kind of
Mhm.
just like,
You showing them like you showing out. You just saying this to be showing out. Like
I'm grateful, but I don't really know what you want me to do with that. So
we just go press on. Just go press.
appreciate you. Hmm.
Um, so again, 2 years of a lot of ups and downs and just different dynamics, good, bad, and everything in between. And I say bad, we count it all joy, but bad is in the moment, it didn't feel so great. Um, if if grief itself, right? Let's say grief was a person and grief was able to sit in front of you.
Mm,
What do you think that grief would say to you?
embrace me.
Mm,
I'm really here to help you get to your next phase. I really am. And I mean, I believe that with all my heart. And again, my personal, experience, but grief is meant to help you navigate your next phase because your previous chapter has closed, and grief is intended to help you process what was so you can move into what is and what will be.
girl, you better
And
come off the mic.
a lot of times that has to do with your own personal things. Like over the past, year since I've, gone through therapy, and 2 years really since the whole process started, there were things that's come up for me that I didn't know was a problem. You know what I mean? But it was
Right.
like, now that I had this opportunity to reflect and to think and to be by myself and not have to be, just spend the time. I had the privilege of being able to spend the time, right? Like there were things that came up for me on them that like I just would have never thought was me. And like just past hurts, like I didn't realize how much my mother's death, back when I was 11, impacted and impacted, my current life,
Right, right,
and how I loved and how I opened myself up to people. And
right.
it wasn't until I had a chance to really sit down and to think through those and process those things that I was like, oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
why,
right.
I find it hard to automatically open up to people. That's why I'm guarded.
Yeah,
That's why. And it's extremely freeing, but it's not until you allow yourself to embrace what is and to face those ugly aspects of your life, to face the fact. One of the things that I really had to face with my mom when my mom's death was that I always felt like I was abandoned by her, right? Like,
um, yeah,
and you walk with that. I've walked with that since I was 11. And so um you know and then to be challenged on that, like, tell me what abandonment means
right.
versus what happened, and being able for someone to ask me those questions is life changing, because I went from feeling abandoned to a point of understanding that my mother didn't want to leave me.
Mm,
She just did,
right,
right? And having to spend the time to recall the moments that led up to that. Same thing with Tony, the moments that led up to their transition and what they must have been able to feel,
mm,
and being able to then feel it, because I understand now what it's like to look somebody in their eye and know in the back of your mind, these are the last moments I have with you.
mm,
Is it abandonment, or is it love, that I love and even longing for myself because I know I won't be able to see you to your next phase? But being able to like process those things
yeah,
are so important because it'll free you, right?
right,
Again, grief is a gift, but you have to allow the pain points to be the pain points and to work through the pain points. Everybody's grief process is different.
right.
Take whatever I'm saying with a grain of salt. But at the end of the day, it's all about you being willing to lean into
Right.
the untanglement of everything that has happened so that you can live the life that is before you, and it will, take you there. So, honestly, there are parts of me that say, I wish, I wish it would have never happened because my life would have continued on. But there's other parts of me that say, if that is if that is the process and the journey of my life, I'm grateful, because the person that I am now is not who I ever thought I would be able to become. Like, I've been able to, you know, um, challenge myself to come out of
Do
my
new
comfort zone
things
for
and
so many
yeah,
different things.
yeah.
And I would have never done that because I would have just stayed in my life because my life was good. Like, it was comfortable. I love my husband. He loved me. We had a nice little life. It wasn't anything, I wasn't trying to get out of anything, but it was just like, if these are the steps of your steps of your journey are going to be the steps of your journey. So you might as well take the time to process that, take
Mhm.
the time to accept that, right? Because I also understand, and I've had many conversations with people about this, being able to get past what you expect your life to be and to
Expectation.
just to embrace your life as it is and move forward in that. And that's difficult. That's difficult. I'm not going to say it's not, but again, it's the willingness to go through the process of it that yields the fruit that later on you'll be able to say, yeah, I can see how that was beneficial for me.
Yeah. Um, I think I think what you're saying, and I'll try to sum it up, is grief is the privilege of loving.
That's
Um,
great. Yeah, I
you
love
know,
that.
grief is the privilege of loving that it's love that is causing you to grieve. And to your point, whether it's a pen, whether it's a dog, whether it's a job, whether it was a house, a neighborhood, a friendship, or whatever, you loved it. You loved it, and it loved you back, and whatever it was meeting all the needs, and it was doing all the things. And for whatever reason, now that's gone, and the loss of that. But it's a privilege because you had the
Mhm.
opportunity to have it in the first place.
A hundred
Um,
percent. A
and that
hundred percent.
that is something uh, that is truly a blessing. And I think to that point, again, when you love something and love is unconditional and it is unending, grief is unending. The form that it's in may end, right? I may not be constantly in this place where I feel all these things, but the missing or the like nostalgia is a part of that person, those experiences always being a part of you. And
The
that's
ma-
all. Yeah.
yeah, it totally makes you who you are. Like, I couldn't
Yeah.
be who I am today without Tony. I couldn't
Yeah.
be who I am today without the grief steps to this place. And so, again, it's just a part of your journey, right? And it's to be embraced. Like, it doesn't always feel good. I keep saying that because I'm not taking away from the fact that this is difficult because it
Right.
is.
Right.
But it's a part of your journey. And, not all parts of the journey are easy, but it's all to get you to the desired outcome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And God knows what that outcome is. So
He
there's
sure
that.
does.
There's that.
He sure does.
Um, so I so appreciate you. Like I said, I knew this would
Same.
be a blessing. It's been a
Oh,
blessing
I'm
to meet
so
you.
glad. Oh, I'm
Um,
so glad.
I, 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 I'm just, I love, just thank you. Thank
And
you.
thank you for the opportunity. I really enjoyed this conversation.
It was good, right?
It was very good. It
It
was
was
very good.
good. It was good. So I know it's going to be a blessing to so many people. Before we close, I always ask this last question to everyone, and so I'm going to ask it to you. What is one of the most life-changing pieces of advice you have ever been given?
Um, Life-changing advice.
Mm.
Honestly, it's either you adjust or get stuck. I still, to this very moment,
Okay.
say that. Either you
Listen,
gonna
any advice
adjust.
the Holy Spirit gives you is going to be the most life-changing. So there's that.
I apply it to almost everything. Either you
Okay.
adjust or you gonna get stuck.
Yeah.
So that would be my quote of quotes.
Okay. I love it. Adjust or get stuck. That's a perfect. We're not stagnant around here. And it quite honestly fits right into the theme of things, right? Mind shifts, like constantly changing and evolving how we think about things so that we can do
Yeah.
things differently. And that's really what it is. God is a God of movement and of flow.
Yeah.
And he is not, has never been stagnant and never will be.
Never. Yeah.
So stagnation is not a part of his character. If we stagnant, it's not of God. So there's
It's
that.
not.
Even when we think we standing still, he doing stuff. So
He doing
it's
something. He always
always
moving.
movement, always
Mhm.
movement.
He always
Thank
moving.
you again, friend.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate
Thank you.
you.
This is wonderful.
It was been a true blessing.
Thank you. Amen.
Promise I'm gonna be back in full effect. This is the kickoff. But do you see what I'm saying? This is where we going. This is where we
This
going.
is where we going. This is where we
We
going.
going back. We going back. We coming back. So, all right. Have a wonderful week. Be blessed. Bye
Take
bye.
care, everyone.